Hi, so I'm going to do a couple of more, one more tangent and one more cotangent for you. To reiterate what happens with tangent, once you get your phase shift and your vertical translation, when you find out where that is, okay, say it's right there. Hang on, I'm going to start over because this board isn't oriented very well. We'll get rid of this picture. Alright, so once you get your phase shift and your vertical translation, let's say your target's right here. If you're doing tangent of something, some form of tangent graph, what you'll do from your target is you'll go 1, 2, asymptote, back to asymptote, go back to your target, immediately to the right of it, you'll go up to the stretch, and then over here you'll go down, and then go between your asymptotes, and then count forward 1, 2, 3, 4, and draw another one, your dot, it goes this way. The number in the front, of course there would be more to this graph, but the number in the front determines how far up and down these go. So anyway, with tangent, find your phase shift and your vertical translation, and then from there go 1, 2, asymptote, back to your phase shift, immediately to the right, go up. If it's negative tangent, of course, do the opposite. Alright, if it's cotangent, some sort of cotangent graph, once you find your target, your phase shift and your vertical translation, what you'll do is you do start here, just like you do with sine, cosine, secant, cosecant, and cotangent. Those all start and go 1, 2, 3, 4. Tangent's over here by itself is the only one that goes 1, 2, 3, 4. So with cotangent, I start off and go 1, 2, 3, 4. Obviously, you wouldn't draw those little things there. So, sorry. Let's go back, see if I can undo that. Okay, so anyway, from cotangent, you treat it like you did normally, except for the period is shorter. Oh, by the way, the period of tangent and cotangent you find by saying pi over c, okay? So anyway, once you have what you're going to count by with cotangent, you start out and go 1, 2, 3, 4. When you get to your fourth one, you put an asymptote. There's one at the beginning, a dot on the midline. Immediately to the right of your phase shift, you'll start up, and it'll go like that. So a regular tangent graph looks like this. If it's just y equals 10x, it's 0 right here. Then you would go 1, 2, asymptote, back to asymptote, and it looks like that. A regular cotangent graph without any shifting or anything. Your phase shift would start right here, and you would go 1, 2, 3, 4, just like you were about to draw a sine or cosine wave. Don't divide it up. But you'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, asymptote, asymptote, dot in the middle. Immediately after you leave your target, your phase shift, go up and go like this. So yeah, a negative tangent graph would look like this. So it kind of has the same shape, but it's not in the same place because of how they act. So to finish up, I'm going to do a harder tangent graph. So if we have y is equal to 3 plus 2, 10, 2x minus pi. Alright, so the stretch is like the amplitude 2, the period is pi over 2. The count, you divide that by 4 and you get pi over 8. Phase shift is pi over 2. And the vertical translation is 3. So the only difference so far is you say pi over 2, not 2 pi over, right here. Pi divided by 2. All right, so now I'm going to start here at pi over 2, 3. I don't know why I keep doing positive changes. Hope that doesn't mess you up. So, let me see if I can find what I just did with that. All right, so I'm going to go to pi over 2, 3. So I'm going to go to pi over 2, leave myself some room for some marks. I'm going to count by pi over 8, but this is a tangent graph, so I'm going to split it up. So pi over 8s are a fourth of the size of these pi over 2s. I'm going to add this to that, so I'm going to call this 2 pi, 4 pi over 8. I'm going to change pi over 2 into 4 pi over 8, so I can add pi over 8s. All right, so this is 4 pi over 8 right now. So I'm going to go 1, 2, asymptote, back, 2, asymptote. I'm sorry, I forgot to go up 3. That should be dotted. So I'm going to go up 3. And my target is right here at pi over 2, 3. So I went 1, 2, asymptote, back 2, asymptote. I'll put my dot right here. It was a positive tangent graph. And my first mark will be up 2. And so immediately to the right of it, I'm going to go up 2. And to the left of it, I'm going to go down 2. And draw my graph. And then I'm going to keep counting backwards by pi over 8s. This was 4 pi over 8, 3 pi, over 8. Let's see, this is 4 pi over 8 minus pi over 8 is 3 pi over 8, minus pi over 8 is 2 pi over 8, minus pi over 8 is pi over 8, minus pi over 8 is 0, and then negative pi over 8, and negative 2 pi over 8. All right, so I have an asymptote here. This dot's right here in the middle of these 5 marks, so it'd be right here. Sorry, this is so messy. This one would be down 2, be up 2, and I have another one right here. And you could just keep on doing them, counting by pi over 8s. All right, let's do a cotangent. So once again, tangent did this. It hit the midline, my phase shift vertical translation. Immediately to the right of that, since this was positive, I went up 2. A fourth of the way this way, I went down 2, and then connected the dots. And that was, my last mark there was 2 pi over 8, minus pi over 8, minus pi over 8, and so on. All right, now let's do a cotangent. Cotangent is y is equal to, let's say 3 minus 2 cotangent x plus pi. All right, so the stretch, kind of like the amplitude is 2. The period is pi over 1. Count is pi over 4. Phase shift is negative pi. Vertical translation is 3. I'm going to go right there. So I'm going to go to negative pi, leave my room for some counting, and up 3. Here's my target. Okay, I'm sorry, this board's not very well oriented, so we'll call this negative pi. Not very oriented, but anyway, this is supposed to be at negative pi 3. If it was tangent, I would go out 2, back 2. Oh, I'm sorry, this is cotangent. But since it's cotangent, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out 1, 2, 3, 4 by pi over 4s. 1, 2, 3, 4, just like I was going to graph any of the other CSC ones. All right, this is negative, this was negative, I'm sorry, not this. This was negative pi. I'm going to call it negative 4 pi over 4, so I can add pi over 4. So this one's negative 3 pi over 4, negative 2 pi over 4, sorry, it's not oriented, negative pi over 4, add pi over 4 and you get 0. Alright, so I counted out from negative pi, I counted out 1, 2, 3, 4, asymptote. At the beginning I have an asymptote. And then I go to my midline and put a dot right in the middle. And then then I go back to my phase shift, which was just my target where this X is. And in tangent, your target's right in the middle. But anyway, my target, I go immediately to the right and I would go up. However, I have a negative cotangent, so I'll go immediately to the right and I'll go down. And I've got to go down 2. So I have my dot here, my dot right on the middle, and my dot 2 up, and it's between these asymptotes. It keeps on going like this. If you keep marking off by pi over 4s, you have another asymptote, another dot in the middle, down, and then up. So to reiterate one more time, so that you know which way it goes, which can definitely be confusing. With tangent, find your target and go 1, 2, asymptote, 3, 4, asymptote. Dot in the middle, immediately to the right of it. If it's a positive tangent, go up however far, and then go down and draw your tangent line. If it's cotangent, you'll get your target and you'll count out 1, 2, 3, 4 straight out, asymptote at both ends, dot on the midline. Immediately to the right of any phase shift, you're going to go into the positives. So that makes this one go like